So I'm doing more on Substack lately, and I'm finding some really good fellow authors on there, and they're posting some really cool articles. I'm not really big into the read chapters of your books or your short stories and stuff, even though that's also two of the things that I'm doing on my Substack right now. Um, but I appreciate the articles. I appreciate the advice. I'm always looking for advice. I'm always looking for things coming up. And this article hit, and I'm like, you know what? This is a good one. I enjoyed this. Now, before we get to the article, I want to let you know that I want to thank you for subscribing. I want to thank you for watching the ads here, 30 seconds or more on YouTube. That's how we get paid. Also, love the comments on the videos. I also love the ideas for more of these writing videos. So if there's an article out there, for instance, that you've read and you're like, you know what, this would be a good conversation for you to have, and also a good way for you to highlight another author, another person in the writing community, then I'm all for it. I'm leaving that in. So here we go. Lee Stackhouse. I've not been following Lee Stackhouse for a long time on Substack, maybe a month, but there's some pretty cool stuff. There's some pretty cool stuff on the page. So this one, I was like, I wasn't even gonna read it. I was just gonna, I file them away for the future kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? Let me just glance at it because it's So You Got Another Query Rejection. Now, as I am filming this, I am about 2 chapters away from finishing my first draft on my Southern Gothic noir thriller, which the idea is to send it to agents. I want to move up to that next step. I've been doing this for 30 something years, and I've been 15 years as a full-time author, able to make enough money to survive. But I want that next step. Okay. And it's not necessarily about the money of it, it's about the ego of it. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, I would love to go to BoucherCon every year as an author with a big publisher. Not even a big 5 publisher, but one of the really good thriller publishers out there. And I would love to be I don't know if you've ever been to BoucherCon. I have a couple times. They give you tickets, and you basically go into this room or this area, depending on where it is. And there's all these books, hundreds of books laid out, piles of the same book. And you get to pick 3 books from these 200 books that you get to keep. That these are yours. Here, we're giving these away. The publishers are giving these books away for you to read and hopefully review. I would love to have a stack of my books in that room. That would be so cool to walk in that room and see that. But you're not going to do that as an indie. You're not going to do that doing what I do. And I want to see how that other half lives. So anyway, so I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to look at anything about querying or anything else. I know there's a ton of information out there, good and bad. But I was like, no, not until I finish this book. And then I'm like, well, this week I will finish this book. Let me just read this real quick. Let me just read this little post. So you got another query rejection. Okay, so this is 10 very real, very common, and completely normal reasons an agent rejected your query, even if your book is amazing. And I think you got to keep that in mind as well. Years and years ago, I was an editor for a bunch of anthologies. I was an editor back 30 years ago for Black Moon magazine, and a lot of the times it's not necessarily that I didn't like your story. It's just we had published something similar, or maybe there was something in. I was like, let me just put this in the B pile, and then there's too many in the A pile because you only get a certain number of stories, whatever. So I understand that it's not always just, hey, this is a bad story. A lot of times it is, obviously, but let me take a little coffee sip break here. You know what I'm saying? 0 to 60 or something. All right. 10 reasons an agent rejected your query that have nothing to do with your worth. Okay. And by the way, at least that has keep these posts coming. Love them. I'll obviously in the description, I'll put a link to the Substack. I would definitely, if nothing else, hit a follow because there's some really good stuff in here. All right. Number 1, your stakes weren't clear enough. Agents want to know what happens if your protagonist fails. If the letter doesn't spell this out, they assume the book won't either. So, yeah, I mean, the query isn't like a back blurb where we're just trying to hook you and make you want to read more. No. We want you to read the whole thing, and we want you to know what's actually going on here, you know? And it's a point where you don't hold anything back. You don't be like, well, there's some stuff going on, but you'll read it. No, they don't want that. They want to know right away what's going on, and they want to know, they want to know that up front, and then they want the book to show that. They want the book to show that there's real danger here for this person. They're not John Wick just walking through and just shooting 400 people and doing cool slides and stuff. They want to know that there's a chance your main character might not survive, and they want to feel ownership of that because they want the reader to feel ownership of that. Number 2, your comp titles were too old. This is one I never even would have thought about. So if your comps are older than 3 to 5 years, many agents consider them irrelevant to the current market, even if they're perfect. Is it fair? No. Is it publishing? Yes. So that's a good one because I know a lot of people who are saying stuff like that. There's a joke, a little in joke we use. There's a person that shall remain nameless, and he thinks he is the movie expert, and he can break down every movie, and I don't know, he just gives dumb opinions. Anyway, I don't even remember what the movie is, but I remember he said one time, this is like Othello meets Star Wars. Well, now, if we're looking at it from a finding an agent, that agent's going to go, yeah, these are way more than 3 to 5 years. So maybe no. So that's a good one. I mean, the agent also wants to know that you know what the market is right now. Okay. They want to know what the big books are that this is comparable to. And I think that's really important. So really it's do your homework. And that was one that you just don't skip because you're writing a book and you're like, well, this is, I wrote it. And you know what? I read Flowers in the Attic when I was a kid. So this is got the same kind of things. Well, that's not a book from 3 to 5 years ago, so they're not interested in that. They're not interested in selling a book that came out 35 years ago. They're not interested in comping that type of book. So I think that's a good one. I like that one. Number 3, they liked it, just not enough. I don't know why I keep doing with my hands. It's the Italian in me. This is painful but honest. An agent must love your book enough to read it 5 to 7 more times during revisions, submission, line edits, and contract negotiations. Like isn't sustainable for them. And I mean, and I think that was a true one too, because they're getting a ton of books. Okay, a ton of books. And they want to love something. They want to fall in love with a book because they think readers are going to fall in love with it. They think a publisher is going to fall in love with this book. And if they're just like, so I'm I got 30 books here, and I'm going to just try to sell these 30 books, and I like all of them, but it doesn't work. There has to be that love affair between the book and the agent, and then the book and the publisher has to believe in this agent that this book is so good. We're all going to get rich off of this book. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's a business. Okay. It's a business, and they're not going to go, hey, yeah, we just sunk, 6 figures into a book that we like. I mean, we like, this is a good book. No, they want to love that book. So sometimes you're going to get a book that, hey, you know what? That agent liked the book. but they didn't love the book. And then for you as an author, that's good. It's good because you move on and you find an agent that's going to love that book. That's the idea here. Number 4, your word count was off their threshold. If they're looking for 75 to 90,000 words and yours is 110,000, they may pass, even if they adore your voice, because they don't have the bandwidth to shepherd a long edit. Because that 110,000 book has to cut 20 to 35,000 words from it. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of editing work. That's a lot of going back and forth. That's a lot of them saying, hey, so this subplot and this subplot that you are so in love with, we don't need this. We don't need these characters, okay? The book I'm writing now, that I'm almost finished with, I originally had 3 minor characters together with our main person, our hero, if you will. And I realized I don't need 3 people. I don't need these extra 2 subplot things. So I cut it down to 1. I rewrote to one person with all of those people in one, and it just reads better. I'm also that stays in. I'm also hitting about 80,000 words for a thriller book, which is fine. I read years ago that the sweet spot for thrillers was 63,000 words. I don't know where I read that, but most of my books have been 63,000 words. So this one's a little bit longer, but it should still be within that word count. Now, if I get an agent, I find a good agent, which is the goal, and they say, we need 10,000 less words. We need 10,000 more words, whatever they may need. Okay. We're going to work that out. Ideally, I want an agent who goes, yeah, 80,000 words. Perfect. It's in the range for publishing. Let's do this. That's the goal. Know your genre. There's a person I know, I won't name him by name. He's written his first book, took him many years to do. It's a horror book, and it's like 125,000, 150,000 words, something crazy ridiculous. And I'm like, if you want my honest opinion, no publisher is going to pick up a first-time author, a horror book, 150,000 words. No. You got to cut that. I think he cut it down to maybe 125,000 words. It's still too long of a book, in my opinion. Okay. Based on what I'm reading out there. Now, if you're an author that can sell some books, a Paul Tremblay, for instance, comes to mind. He could write whatever he wants at this point, honestly. So I think you really have to know your genre. You really have to know what they're looking for. You have to pay attention when you're querying agents to know what they're looking for. Not only what genre they're looking for, but word counts, but things like that. So that's something. Number 5, your genre isn't their specialty. Agents are laser focused. Your romantic thriller might not fit someone's current list, even if the writing is stellar. I think that's an important one. I know another guy. He sent out almost 200 queries to agents. Okay, he used a specific website for tracking queries. Let's say that. And he said once he hit like 60 or 70, then it was like, all right, I'm just going to send it to pretty much anybody who's even remotely likes thrillers. I'm just going to send, basically I'm going to send 200 queries out to find an agent. He did not find an agent. He found a publisher that took unagented books. So did he waste a lot of time? I think he did. Because I would rather say, okay, listen, I found 40 agents here that might be interested. Let me focus on them. Let me have the best query letter and everything else I can, and hopefully one of them will pick it up. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the perfect. You're not looking for a new agent who is just like, yeah, I'll take anything. I just want to make a sale at this point. that person's not going to help your career. It might help you sell that book, but it's not going to be a person that you want to spend the next 20 years with. Okay. I know a lot of authors who absolutely love their agents. And I know an author who was crushed because their agent passed away. They had worked with this person for over 20 years. And then they had to go out there and try to find another agent. And it's like, I'm friends with this person. I mean, there's a friendship there. It's a business, but you get that where you ask about the kids and you ask about other things. And yeah, we're still talking money, that you still have to make money for that person, or they're not going to, represent you anymore. But still, there has to be something, a connection there. And I think that's really important. Number 6, they already represent something similar. So agents can't take on books that directly compete with existing clients. This is about ethics, not you. And I think that's an important one too. Sometimes you're like, hey, I wrote this book and it's, it's exactly like this author. I've written this great book, and it's, I mean, this could be a Jack Reacher book. It's so good. This could be anything from Lee Child kind of thing. And then you submit it to Lee Child's agent, and they're going to say, yeah, no, it's too close. I don't want to put something out to try to get something out that is, I'm not going to say it's a ripoff, but it hits too close to home. Okay. So I get that one. I mean, that one's a good one. We're always trying to, you always say, oh, you got to write something original. Well, there's nothing original out there. Let's be honest. It's all been done before, like the Bare Naked Ladies song. But your twist on it is hopefully so good and so unique and different-ish that you're not gonna say, hey, this is the next Reacher, and it literally reads like you basically wrote fan fiction for Reacher. Number 7, the opening pages didn't hook them fast enough. This is the writing 101 thing you're taught, right? Says agents read quickly and make decisions within a few paragraphs, sometimes even on the first sentence. This doesn't mean your book is bad, just that it didn't match their taste or pacing expectations. So as much as you would love to think that, I sent this book to 100 agents, and 100 agents sat down with their reading light and their smoking their pipe, and they sat down and they read my entire 350-page book. Yeah, that's not happening. A couple things wrong there. Most agents are women, and I don't know how many of those women, what percentage of those women have smoking pipes. I would imagine they use lighting to read, though. That part of my thing is probably right. You got to hook them. You have to hook them on that because they're literally going through hundreds and hundreds of books every month, and they're like, they'll read some garbage. No, I don't want to figure out where this is going because it doesn't interest me enough. There's a lot of things there. You got to hook them from that first line, but you got to hook them from that first chapter. Then you got to hook them for that second. You got to keep it going. They want to see a complete book that from page 1 to page 350, this is going to be the thing. This is the thing I'm falling in love with as an agent, and I know a publisher who will fall in love with this as well. So that's important. I think that's also very important. Number 8, the market isn't buying your type of book right now. That's a big important one. Again, this is a business. Says agents are often reacting to what editors are asking for. If publishers temporarily cool on your niche, it affects you. And I think that's true too. So agents have their ear to the ground on what publishers are looking for. And if they have a working relationship with a specific publisher, and they know, this editor, this publisher is looking for this specific type of book, and that's what I'm going to look in my slush pile for. That's what I'm going to look for. Okay, that's the thing that's going to hook me. A good book I'm in love with, not just any book. But they also know that they're like, hey, stop sending me this or stop sending me that kind of thing. I mean, they're not publishers aren't going to openly say it, but you can tell when they're like, yeah, we're not interested in this at this time, whatever. So it's a lot of that as well. It's a lot of what's selling right now and what's going to sell in the next 18 months. Because remember, let's say it takes you a year, you find your dream agent. You got a great relationship. They sell it within 2 weeks. Okay. Let's be positive. And now we're like in the middle of, say, August 1st, they sell your book. Well, that book ain't coming out August 2nd. That book's coming out a year or later from there. You're going through edits, you're going through all the other stuff that goes along with that. So will that specific genre or subgenre be sellable at that point? Okay. um we're seeing this in horror movies right now. I just read an article that they're rebooting Friday the 13th. They're rebooting Nightmare on Elm Street, and it's because horror movies right now are making money. Okay, horror movies are in the top 5, the top 10 again, uh, and so everybody's getting excited. And now we're going to have all these reboots, and we're going to have all these new horror movies that are coming out. By the time you film all these movies and everything, maybe people are like, yeah, we want to go back to romantic comedies. You just don't know. It's a crapshoot. You're playing. It's the same with publishing. I mean, you might find something, when Game of Thrones, when not necessarily the books originally. I mean, they were selling, but when the HBO series came out, and then everybody was like, well, we need fantasy books. We need thousands of fantasy books. Well, it's cooled off a little bit. The market has cooled off a little bit. So there are certain things that you need to be aware of. Okay. Number 9, they don't have the capacity for new clients. I mean, and obviously, even if they say they're open, they're not going to shut the door down completely. So agents go through seasons of being overwhelmed. Life happens. Their roster fills, or they're swamped with submissions. Sometimes the timing just isn't right. So they might have taken on a couple of new clients or a new client. Agents aren't going to take on 50 people. They want to work closely with a small, specific amount of people who are writing things that they love. They're only taking books that they absolutely love. And so they're just not, you've queried them, and at that moment your book hits their desk, and at that moment they look and they go, well, we just signed somebody, or you know what, I need a break. Hey, I'm going to be on vacation for the next 2 months. I'm doing well. I need a break, or yeah, I'm going through a divorce, whatever it is. They're just not looking for new people at that moment. They're not necessarily closed, and they might be reading stuff, but they're going to take that absolute gem, that diamond, out of that pile. And then your book, which maybe at another time of the year they might have loved it and wanted to work with you, but it's just not, the timing is off. It's just the timing is off. So I think that's important. And number 10, but certainly not the least of these, your query wasn't personalized. I think this is a big one. This is that first glance at somebody. You know what I'm saying? You're walking down the street, somebody's coming towards you, you look at that person, you immediately, like, because of your life experiences, sometimes I look at somebody and I go, oh, that guy was a bully, and I don't like that guy. That person is not a good person, Or you look at a woman and you say, well, she's very attractive, for not my type. Or you look at somebody and you go, oh, she's high maintenance, or oh my God, he's gonna steal your bank account. You make judgments, okay? And that first impression is so important, good or bad. And if your query isn't personalized, then that's bad. That is right away. There's a strike on you, and because they get so many books sent to them, their first thing is let's just cut all the garbage. Let's cut all the stuff. Let's cut the people I don't want to work with on a personal. I haven't even read your book yet. Okay, I haven't read your book, but you've sent me a generic query letter, and your book is 10,000 words over what it's supposed to be. There's two strikes right there. So it says a generic letter might read as spray and pray, and agents want to know why you chose them. Personalization doesn't guarantee a yes, but skipping it can contribute to a no. Exactly. You're basically you're messing up if you're doing that. You totally need to make it as personal as, even if you're sending out 100 of these, or like the one guy know 200 of these. I'm gonna guess, not knowing, I'm gonna guess he just basically cut and paste, spray and pray, boom. Let's just send out 200 of these, and not really do anything other than here's my book. You really got to do the work for this. So I haven't queried any agents in my career. And this is very exciting, and it's also very intimidating for me. And I know I'm going to screw it up in the beginning. I know I'm going to learn it, but hopefully I will make some videos as the process moves along. I think it'll be fun for you to see all the good and I'm sure a lot of bad. So Lee Stackhouse, awesome article. There's a little bit more about thing, but I mean basically main thing, keep querying, keep writing, keep believing in the book you wrote. And I think that's pretty cool too. So I will tag Lee Stackhouse in the description. What am I doing with my hand? And Substack, and follow it and subscribe. There's some really good stuff in here. And thank you for subscribing to me on YouTube. Also check out my Substack, Armand Rosamilia on Substack. And that's it. I do these writing videos every Wednesday and every Sunday and an occasional Friday. And if you have an article that you've read that you think would be pretty good, and not just about query, but about anything that has to do with writing, that's pretty cool. I like doing these, and I like giving shout outs to the people who are doing these as well. So, all right, check out the rest of my YouTube stuff. Appreciate it.